now about diastasis rectus, DRA, or diastasis. And this is the split of the abdominal muscles that has to happen during pregnancy. So as the baby grows, the abdominal muscles have to stretch in order to accommodate the growing baby. And there's a line of connective tissue, I'm using that word a lot, or fascia, down the center. It's called our linea alba. That isn't muscle, so it's not as kind of contractile as, let's say, the six packs basically. It's not as contractile as that, and so it can be a bit more difficult to react then back to the pre-pregnancy size. So if I just show you a little image here, and you can see the first image is the normal six pack, if you like, and you can see around the belly button, like there is a little more width around our belly button anyway. And then the second image is where it's a good bit wider. And then there's various kind of patterns, like this one is just wider at the end, that one is wider at the top, and then this one you can even see the gaps between each of the layers of the tummy muscles. And all it's really, so this is kind of what would have had to happen during pregnancy. So it tells us that the tissues are still on stretch or still maybe a little bit loose. If you are functionally well, if you're able to do jobs that you want to do, if you're able to lift your baby up, if you're able to go from lying to sitting, if you're able to do all of the activities that you would want to do without any feeling of pain or weakness, then it may well be that you have what we would call a functional diastasis. And yes, there's still a gap or a looseness there, but actually the muscles are still able to generate enough force despite that gap. Still, people will want to check and know if they have it, and I guess there are certain things maybe that we can do to help it to improve quicker or to prevent it from getting worse, I suppose. So the check, I'll show you here, so you'll have to have a look at my belly. Okay, so one way is in a standing or I'm kneeling here position. If you kind of start to arch backwards, okay, and then from the xiphoid process, the breastbone here, press all the way down along the center line. And as I do this, like I do with this hand, there's a firmness, like I'm up against I'm up against muscle tissue, so there's the bit around the tummy, but I can't go any further in there, okay? You might see that, like, your fingers, if I relax here, so okay, you might like go in and in and in, and it be really soft. So that would tell us that yes, there is some element of DRA there. You can check like the width maybe. So like, can you get the width of 2 fingers or 3 fingers into it? But more you're kind of concerned with how deep in that those fingers would go. If I do it down here, it's a little bit softer. So like you want to see how deep in they go. And if you're not certain, then certainly book and have a check. I'll show you another way then here. So on the ground, if you do, so the knees are bent, you come here onto the breastbone, check just generally how all the tissues feel. And then as you do a small little crunch, so lift your head and your chest up, and you might just glance along the line of the tummy first, because you might actually see like a kind of a Toblerone sort of shape or a doming shape. And then you're checking the kind of firmness. So actually around here with me, it is a little bit softer now, and I've not had any babies. Or as I come down here, see, it's like, it's I can't keep going, like there's a stop point there. All the way around the belly button is where you're likely to feel it. And it might be that you can keep going in and in and in. Now remember, I'm not talking about into the body fat. I'm talking about in between the muscles. So you're checking, is there a softness? And if there is, then perhaps you need to maybe like things, so let me just think. So yeah, things like getting up out of bed like this, if it was really soft, or getting wider, or you're noticing the kind of doming or the coning, then perhaps until you get assessed, you'll kind of start to come up into sitting from a sideways movement until you can get assessed 1-to-1, and we can figure out, well, why have you still got that? Is it because it's still early days, or actually do we need to give you some more specific exercises to do to help with that? Generally, by activating the pelvic floor a little, you might be able to create a little bit of that tension to stop it from being so soft. I hope that makes sense.